All right. Good morning, everybody. All right. Good morning, everybody. Let's get this started here. Sorry, just a little late. I'm doing a mentor session with Todd Ferguson inside of Accelerators Organization. So my name is Todd Ferguson. I live in Southwest Missouri or Southern Missouri, and my wife and I run several e-commerce businesses. We also have a 3PL or a third-party logistics warehouse where we fulfill products for other people through various channels. So we're going to get into the questions that we have today and hopefully help you guys out. So as we go through these, if you guys have any other questions, once I answer this or need more explanation, feel free to reach out to me via Facebook Messenger so we can talk and make sure that you guys get what you need out of this. So first question comes from Kimberly. Kimberly asks, what are some things to take into consideration when compensating employees and contract workers? It says, one of my businesses, so the business description and background of question, one of my businesses is a hair salon, and I want to sell direct to consumer products, and I have a sister who has a great deal of followers online, and I want to offer her a way to make money with me by focusing on sales by posting the products and bringing in new business. I would like to offer her a commission. Since I don't have the budget for a salary, what are some things I should take into consideration to incentivize her and make sure she's happy and I make a profit? So the first thing going into this is if you're looking just to employ your sister, I don't know if that's the right way to start it. You know, the whole point of being in business is to make money, to make a profit. And yes, to employ people, sometimes that's family, sometimes that's friends. But in order for us to be able to employ those people or even give them commission, we have to make sure we're profitable. So the first thing I would look at would be, what are the products you're selling or you want to sell? What kind of profit margins are there? And is there enough margin in there to compensate somebody else via commission if that's all they're doing is selling those products? And so, you know, if you're in hair care, you're in whatever, look at what the typical product, the margins are, the profit percentages, and then really figure out what your other costs are that you have to cover when you sell that. If it's strictly just paying her commission, then that's fine. But if you have to ship the products to people, you have to consider that. But really just break down inside of a spreadsheet or Google Doc or however you want to do it, but really look at your profit and the items you want to sell. You could even potentially do a sliding scale as far as commission. We don't offer necessarily commission in our business, but I've been in positions where we have, but offer a sliding scale. So the more they sell, the more the bigger percentage they can earn. But it's really just sitting down, first of all, figuring out what you need to make to cover your cost. Do you have a percentage in there that you can offer somebody from your profit margin to sell those products? And then really just sitting down with your sister and asking her what she's looking for to make sure both people are happy. The thing that is detrimental often is when somebody commits to something and then the two parties get into it and it's not what one or both of the parties set out to accomplish. So really just sit down with her after you figured out your numbers and ask her what she is looking for, and just make it clear that it's just new for you guys, and that, you know, you maybe meet every month or every quarter, and you guys have the option to adjust based on the needs of the business and what's really working. So hopefully that helps you out. All right, next question comes from Roy. Roy says, how do I structure my pricing for a new service that I want to provide to a new customer base I'm looking to develop for my business? So business description is, I own a clothing brand with a warehouse in Tennessee, and I'm looking to add extra revenue by offering fulfillment of products for other companies that do not want to fulfill themselves, since I have the warehouse space and the labor. How would you recommend me researching to figure out how much I should charge? So a couple things, just thoughts on this. First of all, you could reach out to somebody that has done this before, maybe somebody that owns a 3PL. There's a thought. I mean, Roy, you clearly know you can reach out to me. We, over the past probably 2.5 or 3 years, have learned a ton of things and have made this work. And so there's tons of stuff that we didn't even know went into it. So partnering with somebody like that, getting a mentor, somebody or a consultant would be ideal. Just like the first question is really make sure that it is profitable for you. So we got into the fulfillment space basically because we had the same thing. We had the space, we had the people, And I really did not look at it whether or not we were profitable. I just thought, oh, we're here, we've got this, we can offer a service, and it really created a lot of stress. So the thing for you, I think, to first do would be to figure out, instead of figuring out what you should charge, you need to figure out what it actually costs you to fulfill your own items. So if you're going to fulfill similar items, whether it's clothing or stuff like that, you would really want to know what it cost you, the baseline number that it costs for you to fulfill your own product. So you're talking, the customer is going to pay for postage, usually your fulfillment customer. You're talking about your labor. You're talking about any boxes or anything that you're going to use. You're going to talk about the time that it takes you to pick an order, talk to your labels, your printers. I mean, it takes everything. So really figure out what it costs you per item to actually fulfill yourself. Keep numbers over the next, 30, 60, 90 days. And then while you're doing that, you can actually start researching other 3PLs or fulfillment warehouses or whatever you want to call them, and seeing what their pricing is. And so oftentimes, the larger you grow, the more you can invest into infrastructure, into machinery, into automation. And so sometimes, the pricing, you can't necessarily compete with pricing on some of those things, but it's really good to look and see what other fulfillment centers that are doing similar things charge their customers, what their fees are for certain things, time frames, all types of stuff. But the big thing would be to know what it cost you to fulfill your own products. And then, look at what you would need to manage other people's products. So it's a little different when you're managing your own products. If you mess up and send the customer a wrong thing, you just fix it. If you can't find an item, there's all these different types of things, but really knowing the level of detail that it takes to run multiple people's products out of your warehouse, it's a different ball game. But that's where I would start. You can Google fulfillment warehouses, you can Google 3PLs, you can they're kind of all over, and look that. Like I said, I'm here to help you kind of guide through that too. I know Joel also does fulfillment in the clothing industry, so you could reach out to him and also talk to him on that. So hopefully that helps, Roy. All right, next question comes from Jessica. Jessica says, what her question is when do I know if I should fire a team member, whether they're a contractor or an employee? So the business description says, I have a business consulting and coaching businesses for the roofing industry. I have an employee, even though they're technically have not signed their W-2 agreement, that I pay $75,000 a year. She performs well in some tasks, but we're having very serious value systems and respect and boundary problems. She speaks to me as if she has no respect for me and the company, and many of her personal mannerisms have come into the workplace and are completely unprofessional in the private and in public settings. Even with team members, I know I should let her go, but there's one client that owes us a lot of money, and I'm concerned that they will not pay or keep paying. I'm also a bit concerned about her trying to compete with me. What should I do? Fire her or question mark? I should say this is causing me a lot of stress. So there's a lot to kind of unpack here. So I'm just going to kind of give you what has worked for me and things that I would look at. First of all, if you're questioning whether you should let somebody go, you already know the answer. You even say down here that you should. And so it's really figuring out how soon how soon you're going to do that. I often look at things, when I was first starting out, you talk about, I'm guessing that she works with this client that owes you a lot of money. And you're concerned that if you let her go, she's not, that client won't continue to work with you or pay, or not pay you the money that you're owed. But the thing that you should probably look at is how detrimental is she to your business, and not just in the short term, but in the long term. So you talk about, before I go into this, one thing I would really strongly suggest is that you have core values and that you have a mission statement. You have all of those, and really when you're looking at either bringing somebody on or letting them go, it's, do they align with your core values that you have set forth for your company? So whatever they are, like ours is, I stole this one from Sean, but the clock is always ticking, meaning like we're always moving, that we're not letting the day go by wasted. We're not wasting time. And so if you have somebody that's dragging their feet and that's sluggish and that's not energetic and that doesn't do things with a sense of urgency, that's a conversation you have with them. And so when you have those core values and your mission statement, it's easier anyway to, when you have a conversation with an employee, make sure that they're aligned with that. And that's how you start off the conversation. And so You even talk about how she, where did you say it in here? Some very serious value system issues. And so to me, that would be core values. If you're worried about losing business because you're losing that customer or that employee, but that employee does not align with what your company is, and what you want your company to present, then if that customer leaves, then they're not the right customer for you anyway. Because if the customer is leaving because you let somebody go, and that person that you're letting go does not align with your core values, is causing problems in the workplace, does not talk to you or communicate with you in a respectful fashion, then that's what they call a red ant or something, where there's, a red ant is one of those that just like constantly picks fights, makes a ton of problems. And so long term, it's going to be more detrimental for your business if you keep that person. And so you already know what needs to happen. And whether or not they're a W-2 employee or a contractor, it is your team members are a direct reflection of your business. Something that you've built, something you've worked hard for, something that you stay up late, something that gives you, that you stress about because you want it to be a great place to work. And when you have somebody like that, you've got to let them go. I personally have let stuff go on way too long. And then when you let the person go, it's like, I don't understand why I didn't do this sooner. And you're afraid that there's going to be backlash. You're afraid that customers or employees are going to be upset. But then when you do it, you find out that it was one of the best things you could have done. And so we often drag our feet on that. And so it's just one of those things you just got to bite the bullet, do it. And, it usually when that happens, you end up thinking, why didn't I do that sooner? So just some thoughts there. Hopefully that helps you. All right. Next question comes from Rohit. Rohit says, how do I determine price per unit when shipping is involved? Any formula? So business description, background of question says, I sell imported snacks and drinks. I recently made an order worth $530 for 214 units and $40 for shipping. So there's a couple ways to do this. You can, I believe you run a retail store, or, you sell your products, not online, but mostly, whether it's a trade show or in your store, you can do it two different ways. And so I know I talked to you a little bit about this, but you can do a percentage of your total cost for your shipping. So roughly on this one, if you paid $40 for $530 worth of product, you're paying 7.5% for freight. And so you can take your units, multiply that times 7.5, and then add that amount to your cost of goods. So then it depends on if you're doing Keystone, which basically means you're doubling products, or if you're using another multiple, you can just do that. Or you can just say, I'm gonna increase everything by 2.2 times or by 2.5 times. And then I'm just going to, that the shipping is another line item in my QuickBooks or in your accounting software that is it's not part of your cost of goods. It's actually just another expense. You can do it either way. So my mother-in-law used to run a retail store. She would just say, hey, all regular price merchandise, we're going to mark up 2.2 times. Anything Christmas, we're going to mark up 2.5 because we know that we're going to run sales. We're going to do different promotions. And so if you just make sure you keep your freight around under about the 12 to 14% on larger items, but are under the 10%, then you're fine. So you can do it either way. So either a percentage of the total cost, or just use it as a separate line item and then figure out what number you're going to mark it up, whether it's two times, 2.2, 2.5, whatever that is for you. So, all right, last question comes from Lamont. Lamont says, how much should I pay myself? Business description, I provide a point of sale system and security cameras to businesses and homeowners. I've grown my business from being a side hustle to the point where it earns more money than my regular 9 to 5, and I'm now transitioning into my business full time. Should I pay myself the same salary I was earning in my 9 to 5, pay myself a salary that is competitive to the position in my industry locally, or pay myself a percentage of the profits each year I earn? Okay, the age-old question of how much should I pay myself? Again, I'm just going back to my experience. Definitely reach out to somebody that is a CFO or an accountant or somebody like that could give you super specifics. I'm just going to tell you what we did, what worked for me. I've always paid myself the least amount possible, like what I need to live minimally, what you know what would take the least amount out of my business. Because for me, I know you've been doing this for a while, but you're now going to be full time. I'm in a product based business, so it's a little different than a service based business. And I think you're kind of in both because you sell products, but then you also have a service. But in a product based business anyway, whenever I took capital out of the business that I needed to buy a product to sell to make money, it was detrimental. So I always tried to take the least amount possible. There was times I didn't pay myself. There was times that I would take money when I needed it. At the beginning of my career, and so I really just made sure my family was taken care of. We lived very minimally, nothing extravagant. We scraped and we clawed and we tried to keep as much money in the business as we possibly could to keep that momentum going. Because when you start taking large chunks of money out of the business, if something comes up, the business can't sustain it, then you're in a little bit of a challenge. And so we now take a salary. I pay myself decent, nothing crazy. I pay my wife, pay my daughter from the business as well. And so we just take a salary, make sure that everything we need is taken care of. If we need something extra, we do. We can do a owner's draw. It's really based on how your business is set up too. Whether it's a sole prop or an LLC or an S corp or all that stuff. So that's why you need to get with an accountant. But I would just really encourage you. It's very tempting when you see large sums of money in your bank account or when you feel like you deserve something or you want to get paid more. Like, yeah, I could pay myself a great salary, but at the end of the day, to me, it's going to be more detrimental to my business. And like, I really am taken care of. I get to do the things I want. The great thing with the business is we get to write certain things off. That's why you need a good accountant. But really, I would just look at do a budget, know what your family needs, whether or not your spouse works, if you're married, what your debt is. Really try to just get rid of any personal debt, and then just say, hey, like I need $3,000 a month to live comfortably, or I need $5,000. But that's the way I would do it. But for me, again, just really trying to keep as much capital in the business for opportunities to buy other product, to expand. If another business comes up for sale and I need it, or I need the money, the capital, I don't want to have to borrow it for myself or go out and get a loan if I already had the capital. So that's just what's worked for us. So hopefully that helps. So, guys, thanks for some great questions. I know I watched the beginning of Joel's yesterday. And he talked about how he just loves answering these questions. And I'm the same way, and I know the other mentors are too. It helps me mentally, helps me think differently than maybe I normally would. It makes me research different things. I really enjoy it, and hopefully it helps you guys. And I know Sean's always looking for great questions. I feel like the questions are definitely getting better. I feel like the descriptions and the backgrounds to kind of let the mentors know exactly where you're coming from is great. So just keep asking those questions. Guys, have a great week, great weekend, and we'll talk to everybody soon. Thanks.